Hi folks, I'm here to give you a quick rundown on one of our new features we have in NITRO Studio called the REST API feature. Essentially this is an extension of what we're doing with our web services action in our custom action and NITRO workflows tools. Allows for connecting to different services across the web. We can invoke web services, but now we've actually added a few extra fields there so you can more explicitly define a connection to a REST API. REST APIs are something that you can use across multiple web services and multiple areas of cloud services. So essentially, a couple quick notes before we really get into the configuration of this. I just want to specify that this is for setting up a connection between NITRO and another service outside of the NITRO SharePoint site. Because NITRO and because Crow Canyon tools all run within the native SharePoint interface, you can use the SharePoint APIs to access data within Crow Canyon and within NITRO. So if you wanted to capture or get data from your SharePoint list, you could use the regular SharePoint APIs to do that. The same with posting to a SharePoint list. You could do that from using the standard SharePoint APIs. So this is really for configuring a service outside of SharePoint. Now you probably could actually use the SharePoint APIs within this to talk to different sites within SharePoint or different tenants, but you'll see how that works when we get into the details of setting it up. Now another quick note here is I want to make sure folks are familiar with what REST APIs are. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a commonly used language for different pieces of software to talk to one another. So it is used pretty commonly throughout the web. Any service that has a web-based interface, such as QuickBooks Online, Salesforce, Dropbox, any number of other systems, Dynamic CRM, all these systems have a cloud-based where you have to log in and get to it. Those pretty much without fail are going to be using some kind of REST API or provide some kind of API to access it through using this RESTful service. There are four main functions that you can perform with a REST API. There's a get function where you can retrieve a resource. There's a put function where you can change the state or update a resource. There's a post function where you can create a resource. And then there's also a delete function where you can go and delete a resource in wherever it is. So in this example today, we're going to use the post function that's going to create a folder in Dropbox. So that's the API we're going to be working with today. And I'll quickly note there's a few other APIs. There's a lot of other APIs actually with Dropbox specifically. And then similar documentation for those APIs can be found in with other services. Just a quick hint, if you can't find the APIs for a given service, use Google. I just did a quick Google search for Dropbox APIs and came up with the site. Same with Salesforce, same with QuickBooks. Just a couple examples of things I just typed into Google, said, hey, show me QuickBooks APIs or QuickBooks developer APIs, and it popped up with the resource and then walks through how to set it up from the QuickBooks side. And then we're going to be walking through today how to set it up from the NITRO Crow Canyon side. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to show you this from the context of custom actions. Now we have this in NITRO workflows too, but I'm going to walk through this example in custom actions. So to get to custom actions, you want to first navigate to NITRO Studio. Of course, to get here, one way to do it, a quick way to do it is go through your site settings of whichever site you want to use. And you'll see Crow Canyon NITRO apps here in site administration. That's going to pop open your NITRO Studio. And then we navigate down to custom actions. So click that. It's going to pop open custom actions. And I see I have another tab over here. This one's already been opened up, but you can see you have the custom action where you can go and select the list you want to work with. So in this case, we're going to be working with our contracts list, which is embedded with one of our applications. So select that, hit go, and it's going to bring you to all the custom actions set up. And you'll see that I've already configured one for this purpose, but I'll walk through how I set this up and using the references from the API documentation from Dropbox. So we're going to open up our custom API, our custom action here. Of course, use the normal settings, however you want to display it. And then the important thing is to come down here and use this invoke web service action. So that's where you're going to be getting the interface for creating this connection. So we have a new action, we hit invoke web service. I'm just going to go ahead and edit this existing one and show you that I have a few things set up here already. So these are common things that are going to be throughout other API services that you have that you're going to just basically, use this template to put everything into your invoke web service action. So there's a few elements on here that you can see. There's the URL. This is the URL to access the Dropbox service for creating a folder. So essentially this is saying, what do you want me to talk to? What's the URL that, coming from the NITRO perspective, what's the URL that you want NITRO to talk to? And then what do you want to do? What do you want NITRO to do? And you see they have those actions on here. There's also an extra one, JSON-P. But that kind of extends a little further for more general web service functions. But we have the REST API functions of get, post, put, and delete that we talked about earlier. And like I said, we're going to use the post resource to post API to create a resource in Dropbox. And this is create folder function. So you can kind of see that's what's going to be happening there. Now, there's other information in here. Where did I get the URL? Where did I get the headers? Where do I get the this authentication stuff? So that's all coming from our references on Dropbox. So there's a whole, like I said, there's all this API documentation out there on Dropbox. And you'll see that actually all I did was click the create folder option over here on the right. You'll see that there's a lot of other functions you can do. You can download files from Dropbox. You can get metadata, get information, store, upload. All this stuff can be done through Dropbox. And there's a whole lot of stuff, but just kind of a simple scenario here. We just want to create a folder. So the scenario here is that we have a contract. Of course, we're coming from that contracts list. We create a contract. It's a new customer, a new type of contract, and we want to create its own folder in Dropbox to capture document information. To upload documents to it. So anyway, to see the options, you have the URL structure here. This is what I was talking about earlier. What do you communicate with in that API? Then you have a kind of an example of what it would look like if you just wrote it out in JavaScript or wrote it out in full script. But because we have that function where you can put it all together, you'll see that there's a few things here that we need to take a look at. So here's the post function. You see that we're specifying it as post. Again, here's the URL. Authorization, so you have some kind of authentication. Now, usually when you're setting up these things, you'll go and create an app and have like a client secret key. There's a whole bunch of information on API documentation within each of these services to tell you what you need to do to get those keys and get those access tokens. So once we get the access token, though, we can come back to our custom action. And we're going to look at our token here. You can see it's a bearer token. There's other options, but this is the one we're working with. And you'll see we have a drop down here for these other options. So this is a bearer token because it says bearer. We got our key over here. So this is the key that I got from Dropbox. And we just add this bearer information there. And I'm doing that because that's what it says to do here. It says bearer space get access token. So that's the access token. And we're doing the same thing, bearer space token, so that we're just following the what they've set up over here, the format. Now there's other headers. There could be other headers beyond just this type of header here, but this is the one we're working with for this particular function. So this header is content type application JSON. So we basically just take that information and open up our headers function here. So our key is going to be content type. This is our key right here. And then we have our value, which is application JSON. So if I pop those in there, you'll see that it populates like this. I think that's just obfuscating that key for whatever reason. But that's basically what it's going to look like. And then you have the data. So basically, you've got the authorization, basically passing the authentication to say, yes, we're going to be doing this on behalf of this account, whatever account created that app in Dropbox. Got the headers to kind of tell what are we going to be doing here, what are we looking for, what type of content, maybe some other information, other parameters about that API service that we're using. And then what's the data? So what's the actual path? What are we actually doing? And so this is going to be showing you that we're going to be uploading a folder. So what this is doing is going to be creating a test API upload folder, and then it's actually taking that title of the contract that we're working with. So this is a placeholder that you can use in this function. So use the %% title, the column internal name, column display name, which is the same in this case, and then %%. So that's going to give you the kind of dynamic variable that you can put into your API. So this is going to create a folder in Dropbox called test API upload, and it's going to add a folder in another folder under it called title. Now it could just add a folder directly at the top level and just simply remove that and just have our %% title. So it's just going to create a folder at the right under Dropbox. So if you want to put it somewhere else within Dropbox, that's what you do. Just say test API or contract folders, whatever it might be, however you want to do it. And then you have some other functions here. Of course, you can pull that from, you kind of get the details of what those things are doing. Path in the user's Dropbox to create, things like that. Auto rename. There's a Boolean conflict. You can kind of read what these things are doing and develop it accordingly, or update the parameters accordingly. So that's entirely up to you how you set that up. But essentially, that's the idea: is that we're taking this custom action, giving it the details that we need to pass the information. Where are we passing it? What are we doing? Here's the parameters. Here's the how we're authenticating, and then the data, or what we're actually going to be doing or updating or getting. If we did a get, we'd have a different data function there. Essentially that's it. That's the process for creating a web service action to invoke a REST API service to do something in some other service. So again, this is basically going to make Nitro limitless in its capabilities as far as the ability to contact and connect with other services and do the things you need it to do. So you can see there's a lot in here. There's a lot you can do. I hope this video is helpful in giving you the information you need to help get started with using this service. And if there's any questions, you can always email us at sharepointsupport@crocanyon.com. Or if you have any information, want to get more information about how to purchase Nitro, you can contact sales@crocanyon.com. That's about it. Thank you.